Hi, I'm the Blue Carbon Wings, and today we're going to interfere with somebody else's blaster. This blaster belongs to Brad of Manchester Nerfers. He got it before he had a 3D printer. I think it's basically just built for him by, I think it was Ratman. And he asked me to kind of take a bit of a look at it and do some bits and pieces because he's not happy with how kind of wobbly it is. So he asked me what I thought, which is basically him saying, I think your opinions are correct. So I'm going to exercise my opinions all over this. As part of making it rigid, I'm a big fan of thumbhole stocks in general, but having this piece here with the rod through it, it clamps it this way. So instead of just kind of having this bit permanently pulling this way and arcing the top, by having something to push up against, there's a limit to how far you can clamp this way. So when you do everything up tight, instead of bowing, it just pulls it fully that way. I don't like how untidy this bit is when it sticks out, so I've gone for the normal conventional one that's flush. So I say this is entirely my opinion. He's got the breakdown magwell, or rather the takedown magwell, but I like, it's not got the aluminium inserts, and I like having aluminium inserts. So I spoke to Suez, who luckily had a spare pair from one of his old blasters. So he's exchanged them for snacks. And I've printed a new coupler. Brad asked for it to be printed in black because these are Manchester colours. And that's not the silly football club. This is actually the traditional Manchester colours. It's either black and yellow for the B because they are a hive of industry from back in the day. And he's also got an issue with the barrel. Got quite an old school pusher. So instead of something with O-rings on it, he's just got this metal pipe, and the front's kind of curved over, and the barrel has been worked so it's a nice snug fit in there, opened up a bit. But the problem is it's a little bit too snug, and obviously you end up with a situation where if it's too loose, it'll go in easily, but you're losing air, which I suppose is the more traditional Caliburn, or this one which is snug, which will be good for the power. But the problem is, and if I show you, I'll just bring it back. Now, look at that barrel, and as I bring this thing forward, you see it move there? It's because the fit is sufficiently snug that it's moving the barrel. And that was kind of the major thing, apart from the twisting, you wanted me to sort out. Yes. So my plan is that at the back to tighten that up so it'll flex less. With the grip, because I like it. Yep, so this to go here because that'll make it more robust. Because I've had a solid plastic one, even with the pretty solidly printed ones, they've just fallen apart. Yeah, so if you're doing takedown, make sure you get aluminium inserts. And then the bit that require more work is stopping this barrel moving. So I'm hoping this is the better clamp. I am thinking what I may also do is super old school. Put some little bits of sticky tape, electrical tape even, along the barrel. So there's more of a friction fit of the barrel in here. Because this might not be enough if you're ramming the darts home. But if it's got quite a tight fit all the way along, it kind of spreads it out, the force. So instead of just pushing on the bolt, you're pushing on everything. So I'll try that and see what happens. Little bit nervous to take this one apart because it's not mine. But that's more, not that it doesn't belong to me. More, I don't know anything about how this is built. So I'm not sure whether this is metric or imperial and what spanners, and it looks like they've got locking nuts, but they've gone quite far down. I always thought the point of locking nuts are you only went a little bit far, you didn't go all the way down, but will be a learning experience. But taking it apart's not going to be very interesting. And I'll come back to you when something interesting is actually happening and I'm putting it back together. Midway point. So I've taken apart the back. I think these must be metric, which makes sense because we're in the UK. But obviously the kit by Slug is imperial. So what happened was this little nut was in here, was just spinning freely because it wasn't large enough to interface with this hexagonal shape here. So what I ended up doing was putting this little flat screwdriver in between the plastic and the nut, basically to hold the nut in place, and then from the other end undoing it, which kind of actually just meant I took off the locking nut, but that's okay. Not quite as simple as I thought it was going to be. Did I mention how other people's blasters are learning experiences? Right, see this? Okay, nice and simple. You see this? Now, if you look here, just there, there's a light. You notice there's a slight lip. And this one, there is no lip whatsoever. This is about 40mm. That's about 40mm. That's about 38mm. This will not physically fit into there. And I mean, if you can, it's printed in black so you can't really see it, but if I put the threaded rod through here, you can kind of see how this is just a little bit, the black one's a little bit smaller. So I need to find out a way to embiggen this. So, bad ideas department. This is a 38mm drill bit. And there's a bit of flex. This is actually one of mine that fell previously. Look at that awful print job. So I've got a 38 and a 38, but because there's a bit of springiness in this, my plan, because I don't have a convenient 40mm one, which probably wouldn't work anyway because it'd be too big and skittle over the place. But this beautifully fits inside, so we'll just spin it slowly. I will wear it till it works. So I'm going to have a bit of a play with this one before I destroy the actual useful print. Back in a bit. Turns out this coupler, printed in black, even after boring it out, I mean I spent an hour or two on it, just doesn't work. I can kind of bore it out enough that it sort of fits over this, but then it bows out, so this bit won't clamp down. Absolute flipping pain. So I'm going to need the proper 40mm inside more metric one, which I should have, well, if you don't try you don't know. I have fitted this new grip on this bit there, so there's a lot less flex there now. Getting this back on was a bit of fun because I bought this all up nice and tight, and then when I offered this up, it didn't line up, it didn't fit. If you notice, there's a slight gap here. Yeah, so in the end I had to kind of loosen up the bolts, slide this in, put the pin through, and I can still access the nuts under here, weight the nuts with this, and then tighten them up. So it is all super rigid up there now, so that's a bit annoying that happened. It's taken more of the day than I wanted to. But yeah, I thought this was just going to be the easy bit, but at least that's rigid now. And now we get to look at this thing. But you see you've got this little smooth pusher, so that's quite a snug fit. Oops, into the barrel. But the barrel, when it hits the pusher, just knocks it out of the way. So my next job is to look at that. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so here's the original one. You can just sort of see just has little screws through the side to clamp. It doesn't work very well. Here's the modern design that should have a nut there and a bolt through. As I previously stated, I couldn't find a nut that fitted, but this bolt kind of bites into the plastic and is pretty rigid. So hopefully that'll be better. But it's like a bigger clamp, so one bigger clamp instead of two little ones. You can see on here, where previously it's been tightened into it and left little rings there, which is not good at all. And you can also, I don't know if you can see, oops, how loose the barrel is in this thing. Now that's normally not a problem, but with the issues Brad had with it being pushed out, what I'm thinking of doing is to put some electrical tape around it to just cause a bit of exterior barrel drag inside here. Instead of pushing all against one bolt, it's pushing against sort of more of an area, so there's more things to push against, which should make it more resistant to being pushed. Alright, kicking it slightly old school. I've put a single wrap of electrical tape round there, just make it slightly larger so it's a snugger fit there, and a couple of wraps on here. I've actually put a whole load round, and I've actually backed off about 2 wraps. Yeah, I had to put one more roll of tape back on just to make it nice and snug. Now I actually, beyond this point, didn't record any more video. I think I was in too much of a rush to get off the cob. Once I got that barrel snug in there with the tape, so it was resistant to moving, I then put on the new muzzle piece and bolted that down from underneath, so that was nicely clamped, and this stopped the barrel moving at all. The issue I had with the pusher was because it was a little bit too tight. It would kind of come into contact with the barrel, and that was what was pushing the barrel forwards. Now the barrel was very secure and not moving. What instead happened was the pusher just jammed itself in entirely. Basically, free the pusher and start the priming, I had to hit this grey AFG with a hammer just to get it moving, which obviously meant it was non-serviceable. But there wasn't enough time to do anything before going to Cobb, so we got put to one side. I just lended Brad one of my other high power blasters. Now before Cobb, I had a go at trying to make the pusher fit better, but I don't think I was test fitting it deep enough into the barrel. So when I reassembled it, that's when it went deep into the barrel and well and truly jammed itself in there, as I have just mentioned. Now the process I used for trying to improve its diameter, or reduce its diameter I should say, was putting it in my pillar drill, which would spin it at a nice constant speed, because being 13mm it just about fitted in there, and going up and down on it with some sandpaper and some files until it was reduced to a diameter that would fit snugly but not get stuck in the back of the barrel. You can see some of the marks I've got on it here from where it was kind of catching and rubbing before, so I'm hoping that works better now. While I had it open again to have another go at sorting the pusher ramrod, thought I could address the lack of cushion on the back of the ramrod, because there's a possibility that the plunger hitting the uncushioned ramrod base was forcing this ramrod even deeper into the barrel, or at least applying a lot of force. I didn't have another official, so to speak, cushion lying around, but when I bought the kit for my Caliburn, I opted to buy on a whim pretty much some of like the cutouts from the centre, and that's what I've used here. I've cut the tips, if you can call that, off the circle, off of 4 of them, and I've just put them on the back here, and hopefully that should provide enough of a cushioning effect just to improve the quality of the blaster. The coupler is still outstanding to do, but the issue is every time somebody makes a metric version of the Caliburn, they don't maintain it, so there's not a version with inserts for metric, so I'm going to have to actually redesign that part entirely for myself, and I'll get around to that at some point in the future. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.